Hey, this is Gavin Rossdale from Bush, and you're listening to Appetite for Distortion.
You know where you are.
This is Appetite for Distortion.
Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 290. My name is Brando. Welcome to the show, Mr. Gavin Rossdale. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thanks. How are you doing? 290 shows. That's crazy.
It really is. And today, as I'm recording it, it's recording this interview. It's National Radio Day, and today I'm going to count college. It's my 20th year in radio, which I don't know how that's possible.
Congratulations. Trust me, it happens. It creeps up on you and you can't believe it yourself. I'm experiencing that every day.
Oh, I'm sure. I want to get to some of those, memories and anniversaries that you celebrate later on. But first, because I just watched the trailer for Habit, and it seems really up my alley. You play, well, I'm going to let you kind of describe it, because you play, well, it's a drug dealer to kind of say, that's kind of minimizing it, right? Like you're much more than just a drug dealer.
Well, Eric, my character, used to be a TV star, so he had a full life. And I guess it just ebbed away, and he lost his way, and show gets cancelled. His star diminishes, and he sort of is living up in the hills, dealing drugs to young Hollywood, and all the time, really trying. You get the sense that he's trying to wish he could find his way back, and wish he doesn't want to be that guy, and then he just basically well, not like all, but in the sense of he's just out of his depth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's not a criminal, but he's within criminal activity, and things just go from bad to worse for him. And we all take wrong turns, but he took like 17 wrong turns, and so I liked him as a character. I liked the way it was written, and I liked the fact that he was just didn't mean to be such a criminal. You know what I mean?
So how did you first? Because you've acted before, but is this like your most involved role, would you say?
Well, I mean, I try to be involved and show up to every movie. I think I've done about 6 or 7 movies. So, I mean, it's just, you try and do the job right, and you do as you're given, and the width of the part, whatever, is the width of the part. So it's a great part, and I was happy to be in this movie along with Bella, and I don't quite know I got second billing, but whatever. I was like, really? But I thought I was kind of passing through the movie, but that's cool. And I mean, I just want to try and be as good as I can for every movie I'm in.
Sure, and that's what I mean by involved. Not saying not like dedicated involved, meaning you're up there with Bella Thorne on the poster. Your name is up there. So do you think this is like the biggest character you've ever played as far as maybe lines and screen time?
Yeah, weirdly enough, I'm not sure. I mean, it's definitely the biggest billing I've ever got.
Okay.
And that was a fun surprise, and nothing that I realized when I first took on the role. I just thought it was I always base my stuff off of Tom Waits and him showing up in movies, and I don't know, sometimes you can just like affect a movie, but you don't have to be in it that much. And so yes, whatever. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's turning out to be a bigger role than I anticipated.
Okay. So what first drew you to the role? Were you friends with Bella Thorne before? I know Paris Jackson's in the movie. So how did you first find out about this movie and your role?
This is through, I don't quite know how it came about, but Donovan Leitch, who's one of the producers on it, we go back a long way. And I guess my name came up in conversation from someone. And I just went to meet Janelle, the director, and Donovan for lunch. And like, the thing is that, I've done lots of movies, and I've also done lots of auditions. And so what was nice, what I liked about it was that my part words. And so for that reason, it was like, it resonated with me. You know what I mean? I thought, well, here's a bit more to get hold of. And there was also acting off of the lines. Like, I did that in Constantine, where I was given a kind of space away from dialogue. And that to me is the kind of difference between a larger part and a smaller part, really. A lot of the time, most people in movies are kind of like big conduits, you know, they're like stepping stones for scenes or for explaining things or this and that. And it's usually the main stars that get given the freedom and the width to roam in a scene and just be in that scene, you know. And so I did like that, you know. That was like, oh, okay, nice. And you can show up to work and really give it without having to speak. And I enjoyed it for that. So I did like that about it. But yeah. So when I sat with Janelle and Donovan, I just liked her. You know, I thought she was interesting and she's an amazing photographer. And, you know, in this world of ever-changing kind of evolution towards the power of women, which is I totally endorse, it was fun to go and work for a first-time female director. I thought that, you know, I hadn't had the chance to do that. I mean, my previous film was Sofia Coppola.
Okay.
She's pretty experienced, so it wasn't her first time. And that was an incredible experience working for her because she is calm and assured and brilliant.
How do you prepare for a role? Because it's obviously got to be completely different than preparing for a concert to perform in that manner. So how do you prepare, you know, your lines? Do you really get into character? Did you what research did you do? Did you hang out with drug dealers? Like, how did you prepare?
Well, I come from London, so it's a city of drug dealers.
Sure.
So I didn't need to do much reference on that stuff. It's just really a case of, for me, kind of running the lines a lot and just imagining who this person is and giving him a little context. So it was really important early on to give him the context that he was just a bit helpless and lost and ultimately kind of depressed about his life. It wasn't a guy who set out to be a drug dealer. It's a guy who set out to be an actor and he got chewed up and spit out by the Hollywood machine. That's how I saw it. And he's left with these minimal options. Now, you know what I mean? Of course, you can go and get a regular job. You don't actually have to go straight to selling drugs, but that doesn't make a good movie. You know, a guy gets his real estate license. It's not quite the same cachet.
Right.
So by running the lines more and more, and because it was well written, you could there's no wasted words. There should be no wasted words in movies. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be wasted words in anything, actually. No one should waffle on more than they need to. But so if you take every word as something important and like imbued with history, you know, you could take any sentence and you can give a whole backstory to it. You know, the more backstory you can give to it, the more it becomes like three-dimensional as opposed to just words on a page, which I think is the most interesting thing about acting per se, is that ability to lift words off of the page and make them real, like a complete, real collective conversation that, either, you're getting information, searching for something, or seducing something, or running from something. You know, it's usually one of those three things. Like, what do you want? Like, what do the words want? And that's how I get it. But you know what I mean? I mean, I don't know. I may not be any good at it.
What is, do you have like an ultimate role that you want to play, going forward? Is there kind of a kind of movie and a kind of role that you aspire to play and to be in?
Well, I think that I'm doing another movie with Janelle, actually, where I probably get to play quite a bigger part. But I think that it's just about, I like those human drama, those kind of things where people just take wrong turns and just get embroiled in situations they shouldn't be in, any kind of Coen brothers movie, Tarantino. This is all these situations where people find themselves in extreme situations, and really as human as possible. Like the whole, Superman stuff is not really that's not necessarily what I like. The actors I like is like Jack Nicholson and Sean Penn and kind of Christian Bale, Daniel Day-Lewis, those kind of meaty, they're always in like crazy meaty films with beautiful human transgressions,
Yeah, I get that. So is there, I mean, I know you mentioned a couple, but do you have a favorite, instead of asking a favorite actor, what's your favorite movie of all time?
Probably Silence of the Lambs, because of Anthony Hopkins. He's my favorite actor, and that just is like the ultimate role of menace and kind of class, you know what I mean? Like the disconnect between he'll eat your liver, but Hannibal Lecter, he'd eat your liver, but he's the smartest man in any room and really learned and esoteric and full of culture, and just that kind of twist is dark. So that movie's been difficult to beat for me in terms of my top ones. But like all the traditional actors, the older actors, De Niro, any De Niro, any early Scorsese or late Scorsese, any Scorsese film, those kind of larger than life characters. I think Leo is a fantastic actor. I think Tom Hardy is probably one of my favorite actors. These guys, they all have crazy backstories with their characters. Their characters are like so big and full,
Right on.
Master.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get what you're saying. So are you like when you're not doing stuff with Bush, and obviously there was the downtime of, because the apocalypse, everything that's happening, and I know you guys are going to go back on the road. And before I get to that, are you like a big movie buff? Is that what you do when you're downtime a lot? Are you, because you sound like you know all the actors. You sound like a movie nerd.
Well, I just enjoy it. It's an incredible art form. I enjoy it like anyone. And like anyone, I get super pissed off when the movie doesn't work out to be very good. And you see through it. But, I just like anything that's done well. I mean, television has really overtaken movies. Now, it feels as though we all kind of, there's more kind of chat about a lot of TV shows than there are, or as much as movies, whereas it used to be only about movies really, and TV was like the kind of redhead stepchild, and now movies, TV is seen like these extended movies and binge watching stuff. I fell in love with Kingdom, I wanted to, I was just, for whatever reason, a friend of mine did the music for it and told me to watch the show Kingdom, and I really got involved in it. So it's like amazing acting, very well written. So TV is also really, really full on.
Cool.
And interesting.
I think a lot of us, I don't know if I'll ever get sick of TV, but obviously a lot of us have been stuck inside the past year and a half, 2 years watching TV. So we're all anxious to go back out and experience live music again. So can you just kind of talk about your excitement? Because I know you're doing some dates with obviously Bush and Stone Temple Pilots. How do you feel about going back on the road with everything? Nine Inch Nails has canceled their tour, but GunsNRoses is still going. So I guess, how do you feel going back out on stage?
I can't believe it's going to happen, really. Did Nine Inch Nails cancel? Was that a tour or just a show?
A tour. They canceled the whole tour today.
Oh, wow. On the grounds of just like, don't know how to keep it safe. Yeah,
and so did BTS. I don't know why I know that, but BTS has also canceled their tour.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose certain people stipulate vaccines to get in, vaccine cards to get in, which kind of makes sense. It's a mess, right? To me, I'm a bit confused why anything is happening this year when numbers are going up, the Delta variant's around. But you know what I mean? It's like it's still majorly screwed up, and I personally don't understand. I mean, it's not me booking it, but I'm just like, really? We can actually play this year? It's a bit like Australia, we had these, we meant to go to Australia twice and been twice postponed, obviously, and still postponed till I don't know when, next year or something. But I was doing, even when I did all the press, I did like 2 or 3 days of press, and I just kept thinking, why are we doing this? It's not going to happen. And then did all the press, and then boom, it doesn't happen. So it's like, that's what's surprising things when things go ahead. I mean, the fact that our stuff might go ahead is really confusing to me. And it's just, you know what I mean? They're going to announce soon in the full knowledge. But my agent, I asked him yesterday, I actually wrote him, was like, do you think we're going to go ahead with this? And he's Guns N' Roses agent. He invited me to a Guns N' Roses show. I was like, do you really think this tour is happening? So he's like, yeah, if we follow protocol, so we'll see, I don't know.
And that's a perfect segue because, I'm here in New York. I obviously couldn't be in LA last night, but I noticed Guns N' Roses, I was at a few of the shows in New Jersey and also Hershey Park, and nobody was wearing masks really. But they had a sign up in Dodger Stadium that said, if you're in your seat, you don't have to wear a mask. If you're walking around, you got to wear it. So there seems to be some rules as they go along. But you said something interesting. So you were invited to go to the concert or to be a part of the tour?
No, just a couple. What if it asked me if I wanted to go see them?
Oh, okay. Have you, since I don't know if you were able to tell the title of the podcast, Appetite for Distortion. So I'm just a little different than just your normal rock podcast. Everyone and their mother has a podcast. So I just want to stand out and be a little different. So I wanted to know if what I like to call the 6 degrees of GNR bacon, instead of Kevin Bacon and, 6 degrees of separation, what, other than I guess you share an agent with Guns N' Roses, what connections to GNR do you have? Are you friends with any of the guys? Have you seen them in concert?
Yeah, I know, I know them all. I don't know Axl, but I mean, I know Duff and Slash, as acquaintances and say hey and check in. And I can't remember where we were, somewhere when they were on their tour. I went to go see them in whatever city it was. I can see the city, I can see the hotel, but I don't know where it was. I think Philly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Philly. I think so. So yeah, I went to, had a real fun at went to see the show and all that stuff. And it's like a freaking event. You know what I mean? It's like a sort of an event with Guns N' Roses playing in it. It was amazing. It was just like seas and seas of people, and just enjoying the show and kind of enjoying the day out. It's just so massive. Those stadium shows are just, they're fun, but they're sort of, you know what I mean? It's not quite the same as I don't know, it's a slightly different experience. It's like literally a sort of day out with Guns N' Roses. Everyone's like, let's just go out to that stadium and hang out and see everyone and drink. So the idea of trying to police people to wear masks seems very ambitious, especially with the GNR audience. It's all like kind of, bikers and, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A lot of people you want to order around too much. And I wouldn't imagine, I'd imagine there's quite a sort of a mask-free philosophy with a lot of the crowd.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you there. I agree with you, especially being at Hershey Park. I mean, just in Pennsylvania, I could see it. I mean, I did wear my Appetite for Vaccination mask in New Jersey, but not many other people were.
It's tricky. It doesn't end up, but unfortunately, and it's not. It's like I love that band and respect them, so it's not a slight on them.
No,
but it's like a bit unfortunate to have a sort of a more lax policy in a stadium setting, and then hope. I mean, I'm hoping no one gets sick. You don't want that, but it does seem that if you don't wear the mask, there's more chance you can pick it up. Yeah,
it's all about limiting risk.
But I also think it must be terrible to play a show to a crowd who are in masks. That's another kind of like real no weird one. Or not no, but it's really weird. I mean, we've been wearing the masks now, a year and a half?
Yeah.
They still look terrible. Everyone looks like Hannibal Lecter. Everyone's wrong. It's just awful. It's just awful. I've had a conversation. Someone came up to me in the grocery store yesterday, and the very nice wife of one of the guys in Iron Maiden. And we literally had a conversation in the aisles, like both in our masks. It was like, as I walked away, she seemed to be a very glamorous, beautiful lady. And I just thought, I know she didn't want to have a conversation with me with our masks on, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, it's so grim. When's these freaking masks going to go away? When everyone gets vaccinated, that's when it's going to go away.
Yeah. No, I've been saying that on this podcast. If you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for somebody else. That's what it's.
I read someone yesterday. This girl that I followed. This interesting girl, and she's like, I feel really sick after my first dose. I've decided I'm not doing the vaccine. It's all about healthy eating, living, spiritually. It's like, shut up. you idiot. Like, why you're going to literally commit to Instagram, like how dumb you are. Like, really? Like, you're going to beat this by eating fruit. Really? Okay, cool. Thanks for the science. Thanks for the update. Now go to the hospital and see people on ventilators. You know, like, what are you talking about? It's just like so ignorant and so dumb.
I'm with you, Gavin, like completely. And I always say, if you see if it's like a tense situation, I usually talk to myself all the time. So wearing a mask makes me seem less crazy. So usually they'll get a laugh out of somebody who, you know, is anti-mask or something like that. So one more, because I know I can't keep you here forever, and I want to wrap up with the movie. But you mentioned, because I grew up with 16th Stone. That was, you know, I'm going to be 38 in a few weeks. But I want to know where you were when Appetite came out, if you don't mind. Like, what kind of impact, if it did have any impact on you, and when you were starting out.
I just remember, obviously, the first track was Sweet Child of Mine, and it was just, you know, I was in England living there, and I just remember sort of thinking what a superstar that Axl was, you know, like I just saw this guy and the way he sang and this I don't know, this style. So it was just like, obviously Appetite is one of the most perfect rock records ever. And so it just was a really stunning record of this style. You know, it wasn't the offshoots, the other bands, the kind of Sunset Strip bands, their whole look, the whole thing, that never really resonated for me as much as that as GunsNRoses. They just seemed to be of a style, and it wasn't necessarily stuff that I knew, you know, blues rock and real rock and roll, but it was just really great songs and the standout quality of Slash and Axl was really apparent. You know what I mean? Like the kind of rock version of Lennon and McCartney or something. And so I just thought they were really just an amazing, interesting band. I didn't quite understand how, you know, then came out the acoustic record, then there wasn't a record. It was all sort of strange how they kind of imploded, you know, sort of. You know, normally you have a band you like and they just bring out subsequent records and you know, you continue watch them grow, and they just sort of had this kind of massive record, then the acoustic record, then nothing, and then, you know, then Use Your Illusion. And so it was weird as a kid kind of going, what's next? I found it a bit confusing. And then I do love what's happened with them, that this one record they have, I mean, they basically played records, stadiums off of one record. Well, it's incredible. Yeah. It's a phenomenon. And then all the kind of, you know, what is it? The Chinese Democracy, 12 years. And I was signed. And it just was always funny to kind of, they always seem to be like sticking it to the man, you know, $12 million on making a record. And, you know, that when everyone came to studios, it was just like, I mean, it was only later I realized that it was their 12 million. But
right.
You just seemed it seemed a bit like, this seemed pretty punk to be so, you know, like have that record and not just decide to bury their differences and make another record, you know. They kind of went off into that whole tangent. So it was just like, they became this classic record, then this kind of tangent they were on, but yet still massive. And then they came back without Slash. It was one thing. And then when they get Slash back, it's stadiums. And so it just shows that people, you know, that a record of that quality just lasts, you know, just when they come out and play, you know, Welcome to the Jungle, it's still amazing, you know, some of the, you know, great songs in Paradise City. It's just sort of love. So when I went to see them, it was like, it was really good fun. You know, I really enjoyed it. And I would have gone again, but I'm not in town, so I didn't go and see them.
Well, I'm hoping that you're going to be in town soon. And in concerts, I don't know how it's going to work going forward, because I would love to see, you know, Bush come to New York City or Long Island, where, you know, this is my neck of the woods. So even though we can't guess what GNR is going to do next, I want to know what Gavin Rossdale is going to do next. So you mentioned that you're working on another movie, and what else do you have that we can look forward to coming up?
Well, you know, working on a new record. You know, we had The Kingdom came out last July, and we never got a chance really to play it. even though it had a lot of streams, it was really successful for us, but we never really managed to promote it. So I think that in coming out to do an even bigger tour next year, if that happens, we'll have a record. So, just chipping away at new songs,
Very cool. See, Gavin, this was an honor and a pleasure. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, growing up on radio and growing up the age I am, your voice has always been a constant in my head since I've been able to turn on a radio. And so just to get the chance to talk to you, and it's very cool that you've been branching out into, you have for a while, but see you in more acting roles, because you've been gifted with a wonderful face, Gavin, not just talent, singing and with your voice and playing guitar. You seem to have it all. I'm a little jealous, but you're a nice guy, so it's okay. Thank you, Gavin, and I hope we get to do this again.
All right, take care. Thanks so much. All the best.
So that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. Be sure to check out Gavin's movie Habit. It is available in some select theaters and available wherever you rent movies, video on demand, as they say. And I didn't want to waste Gavin's time with this kind of funny Bella Thorne story. I didn't know, because I guess I'm not that hip. I didn't know who she was a few years ago. She's been in some movies I've liked since I met her a few years ago. Those babysitter horror movies I really like. So I was in this. If you've seen, if you follow my Instagram, there's a red studio in one of our iHeart locations, and sometimes, not so much now since COVID, but we will get guests in like Gavin or like Bella Thorne, do those radio tours you may have heard me talk to you about. So she came in studio ready to talk to different stations across the country for 2 hours. So, 15, 20 stations or whatever. I forget what she was promoting. And I didn't know who Bella Thorne was. I looked it up on Instagram. I'm like, who is this very beautiful woman? Super tall. And just very tall. And I'm a short dude anyway. So I wanted to know who she was. And I see she has millions of followers. I'm like, who is this? So I wanted to take a sneak Snapchat picture of her talking to the microphone to show my brothers, my younger brothers, to see if they would know who she is, and then maybe that would impress them. They knew, but Bella saw me do that, saw me take a sneaky picture of her, which was extremely unprofessional of me. I could have just asked. I've learned to do that. And sometimes I just get too excited, but I'm sure she's used to it, paparazzi. But again, it was just a normal. Even though it was just a regular picture, nothing incriminating, you asked permission. Sorry. Not like she needed it, because her response was just to do the same thing back to me. It was to take a picture of me on her Snapchat. And while mine just got seen by my brothers, I'm sure got seen by millions of her followers. So, she goes, I really want a joint. I was like, well, if I had one, I would join you. She's like, yeah? I was like, yeah, next time you're in town, we'll smoke a joint together. And she's like, okay. So Bella Thorne owes me a joint. We owe each other a joint smoking session. And I'm sure she doesn't remember that at all. Anyway, so Habit, be sure to check that out. And I hope Gavin gets the tour, man. One of those bands, Bush, I always say I'm going to see them next time. Never doing that again. I'm sure a lot of you are the same. Not since COVID. I don't know what the next opportunity is going to be. So very cool to hear his response. Really? We're really doing this? He's going along with it. And yeah, if everyone's telling him it's safe, he'll do it. But you can see there's a lot of hesitancy, and he cares about the fans, and he wants to do it when they're ready. So whether we see Bush this year as scheduled with STP or next year, he'll still be on the road for a long time, and it'll be very cool to see him, knowing I've gotten to speak with him now, and I got to talk to him more about Silence of the Lambs. Nice favorite movie of all time. Really impressed with that. And also this was a fun way to get back into the big star interviews, because I've been having so much fun doing these fan reviews with GunsNRoses, and last night. Roy Orbison Jr. was at the show, so I'll probably get him on to do a fan review. And he brought his 5-year-old son, Roy 3, to the show. So that should be fun. Maybe I'll get Roy 3 on also to do an interview. So that'll be great. We also have, I know Denver already passed, and I do have a fan that wants to do the Denver review, but it's hard when you have a regular job, when you don't work in radio like me, and I can, pick my spots. So, I could, almost do radio and podcasts 24/7, but when you get a regular job, it's hard to do that. So, we'll hopefully get a Denver review, LA review, anything else, any other cities that you're going to, because I'm getting some volunteers for Portland and Baltimore, whether or not I actually go to that or not. So any future shows for Guns N' Roses, as long as they keep touring, knock on wood, you are invited. Just let me know if you want to come on the podcast to do a review. How does that sound? Oh, and another big guest. I know I've been talking about it on social media. I mentioned it on the podcast, but I want to just keep you up to date with everything. Matt Sorum, scheduled to tape with him September 6th. His book finally comes out September 7th. Hopefully you did not read the leaked version. I did not. So right now I am going through, I was sent an early copy, a PDF version, so I don't have a hard copy. I'm more than halfway through, and I'm enjoying it. It's a fun read so far. And not a lot of people are like this. I love reading about the childhood. Like, how did they become the person they are now? I think that's a big, big thing. So I learned a lot about Matt. And the Guns N' Roses stuff, I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not up to the Velvet Revolver stuff now anyway. But I think this is a very important Guns N' Roses autobiography to come out before Doug Goldstein's eventual autobiography that I'm working on him with. Because some of Matt's viewpoints on members and management really aligns with Doug. And that isn't the case in some of the other GNR books. So it's been really interesting. I'm reading Matt's book. I'm like, wow, Doug said the same thing about so-and-so. Interesting. I'll be sure to give you a full review, whether or not that's with, I'm not going to give a review of Matt's book with Matt, but I'll give you a full review regardless. At least via tweet, I'll do that because I don't want to do much spoilers. And then that was also my lazy segue to please follow my new Twitter at the AFD Podcast. So if you want to do a fan review, if you want to find a guest for me where you could be the co-host, best place to contact me, not just Twitter at the AFD Podcast, but Facebook, Instagram, email at the AFD show at gmail.com. And what I really need your help with is trying to schedule my 300th episode. What I would love to do, and I know it's a tall order, I did my Don't Ban Me episode with Rick Dunford a few shows ago, that I want to cordially invite Fernando LaBase, Guns N' Roses manager, on the podcast to talk, a friendly talk. I'm not out there to grill anybody, and I appreciate those of you who saw my tweet and just saying, hey, Brando's the nicest interview. He doesn't ask for clickbait. And, I got to imagine GNR management, if they do follow social media, they see a lot of angry messages about their style or the lack of production. I'm not about that because I don't know what they do or don't do behind the scenes. I just know it's never what it seems. It really isn't. So I would love to give an opportunity to give Fernando and even Beta an opportunity to come on here and just display their personalities and just show the family that adopted Axl Rose. Nothing, no gotcha questions. I'm not here to be an asshole. And I'll wrap up here, but it was an interesting thing, and you might have saw it on Twitter. And, this might lead to a longer conversation another time, but, you see some nasty messages from fans, especially when Absurd came out. People not liking it because, if you want Appetite GNR, that's not it. And I don't know, maybe they commented on Beta's Instagram saying, what the fuck is this shit? Whatever. And she responded, what's wrong with fans like you? You're so nasty. And I get it, you don't always have to respond, but I get that part of it. But what she said at the end bothered me, and I will give her the benefit of the doubt that she didn't mean it this seriously. But saying the world would be better off without fans like you. True, the world would be better off without negativity in it. But as somebody who has extensively spoken about mental health and suicide on this podcast, along with Guns N' Roses, those are trigger words. And I don't like saying trigger words like a I don't know, like a millennial or something. But literally, when I read that, I was kind of triggered. Like, do Beta, like, does she hate me, thinking like the world would be better off without me because of this podcast and her getting mad at it? You know, I don't think she told the fan to go kill yourself. No. I don't want any of that to be the case. But if you are, you know, part of management, these are things I've learned as being a professional. You can't stoop to their level. And I still have that problem, you know, with GNR trolls and angry messages, and I don't get them a lot. But even when people write nasty things, not even about me, but about Absurd or something else about Guns N' Roses on my page, I don't attack them. I'll maybe do it with a joke or a silly meme, just kind of diffuse the situation. And you know what? If they're an asshole, let them be an asshole. Not my problem. So that should be the case with Guns N' Roses management. So that did bother me. But like I said, in no way, shape, or form do I really believe Beta meant that in the cruelest of ways. No. I think she was just angry. Because there are people who write asshole messages on social media, and sometimes you get caught responding back with the same vitriol. But just, I don't know, be careful. So that's why I would want Beta and Fernando to come on the show to show why, you know, Axl loves them. That's all. Because we love Axl, we love Guns N' Roses, so we want to love everything around it. That's all. So you, as the AFD show faithful, if you see them at a show, if you want to tweet at them, Instagram them, not nothing like like a total, like a Taylor Swift fan army or, One Direction army where you're just like spamming them with shit. But just say, hey, I would love to hear you on the AFD podcast and the Appetite for Distortion podcast. I think you would have a lot of fun. I think that would be great for the fans. That's all. That's it. Okay. So we'll see. So what's going to happen for episode 300 or any of the episodes leading up to that? Well, in the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it, I don't know, as soon as the road.
Thanks to the lame ass security, I'm going home.